Welcome to the Washington Borough School District Middle of the Year Board Presentation for the 2025-26 school year. This year, we have a specific focus on improving mathematics instruction and student learning. We purchased the Amplified Desmos Math program toward the end of last year and have just started the year one of implementation of this program. The program is specifically geared toward deepening the understanding of mathematics concepts rather than having a strict focus on simply practicing learning the algorithms of mathematics. So, this has been quite a departure from typical instruction, but one that we are very proud to bring in. We've had quite a bit of training from the company called Amplify in helping us to employ the new district curriculum. Parents, you may have seen a difference in the types of things that students are bringing home for homework and on their assessments. And it is a really welcome change for our students. They're really enjoying the hands-on approach, understanding the concepts more deeply, and taking a more connected approach to mathematics as it pertains to the real world. The first bit of information that I'm sharing here is the middle of the year diagnostic growth report for the entire district, specific to mathematics. As you can see here, there is something called an annual typical growth rate. And so, an annual typical growth rate uh, is the amount of growth that you would expect for any student in the median range that would make 1 year's growth in the same amount of time. And so, what you'll see here is in the green box, the typical growth box, you'll see that 65% of our students have already demonstrated that they are on target for typical growth for this school year. This is an encouraging mark. We can see that in the beginning of the school year, in the current placement distribution um, colored tab over here, that we have moved many of our students from um, uh, something in the red zone, which we call the intervention zone. Those students, or that percentage of our students that need intervention at the moment, are in the 18% range. Those 49% in the yellow zone, those are students that are right about at grade level, but may need a little bit more attention. We also have a tier two program in place for those students to achieve better results. And then we have 33% of the students that are functioning properly on grade level, making great progress, and looking to increase even that performance. And if you'll see on the bottom right, you'll see something called stretch growth. The stretch growth is an I-ready term that's used so that if students start the year at one point and end the year at their stretch growth target, that will allow the student, according to the research demonstrated by iReady, that will allow the student to potentially catch up to grade level or surpass grade level should they hit that target for 2 straight years, or their stretch growth target for 2 straight years. In this case, we have over almost half of our students, exactly half of our students, that are on target to hit their stretch growth number by the end of this school year, which is a fabulous measure. So if we can continue to make the same growth and progress that we have for the first portion of the year and continue that, what this shows is that half of our students are projected to hit their stretch growth target. And again, if those same students hit their stretch growth target for 2 years in a row, they will then be making more than 1 year's progress in 1 year. And that allows them to either A, catch up to grade level or surpass grade level in future years. In this graphic, you will see a distribution of points on a chart that shows a couple different things. So on the bottom axis, what you'll see is the performance relative to the national norm percentile. And there's a vertical line running through that axis. As you can see, it scales from 0 all the way up to 100 from left to right on the bottom axis of this graph. What this shows is that the middle line, or the 50th percentile, is where, and the national norms, and the 50th percentile would be the average student. Um, Likewise, on the left hand, or the vertical axis, you'll see a scale from 0 to all the way up to 130. Now, that is a growth axis. That is the median or middle number of the typical growth achieved axis. Now, as you can see in this graph, we have this mapped out for each of our grade levels. These are very important starting points for the district when we analyze our middle of the year data and then make decisions based on that data. And what you can see is a pretty nice distribution right in the middle of that graph. And what that tells us is that most of our grade levels are doing exactly as we would expect them to, with a new program coming in and teaching concepts that will help to embed, the concept understanding, not just rote practice and proficiency within the algorithms. And so what you'll see is kindergarten, grade 2, grade 3, grade 1, all of those grade levels are performing around at the median performance level according to national norms. Now, this is a huge departure of our previous years in mathematics. If you know, in our previous years of mathematics, we have been hovering around the 20 to 30% of proficiency range, quite below standard. This year, we're hoping with our new program and all the embedded supports with training and professional learning communities that we've put into our district, as well as just the techniques in which we're teaching mathematics differently. We would have expected that to look different, and so far we're having really great results. There are 2 or 3 outliers here on this graph. One of them is the grade 6 at the top of the graph. And what that shows is that although grade 6 is slightly below the norm, the median norm in performance percentile in the country, we have an extremely high growth rate with these students. And that is really due to the structure in which we've changed how we're approaching grade 6. Our grade 6 teacher is fantastic. She is a 20 some odd year veteran, has an extremely deep understanding and appreciation of the mathematics necessary. And she's just done a wonderful job with bringing along our 6th grade students who, in all years previous, the 6th grade overall has been the lowest performing grade level in mathematics in the district. This is a really encouraging mark to show how much this grade has already grown with a change in teacher and a change in the way that we're teaching mathematics in 6th grade, which can be a very complex grade level for understanding mathematics, starting to get into some really complicated content. Also, you'll see grade 4. Now, grade 4 was last year's grade 3, really performed quite well on the NJSLA. This is definitely not a surprise to us. They are continuing to really perform at a high level, but what we love about this point on the graph is that they are also still above the median growth level. And so when you see the horizontal line right at that 50 mark coming across the screen, anything above that horizontal line or median growth achieved, you'll see that's showing that our district is actually getting our children to grow above what typical students grow at the rate at which typical students grow across the country. And now iReady is the most used product in America right now. So the sample size of the students in this graphic is showing that a large sample of students, I believe it's in the 4 million student range, that attributes to getting these norm numbers. And so anything above that horizontal line is showing that we have above typical growth from the national average. And anything to the right of the vertical line at the 50 percentile vertical line is showing that we are performing higher than the national average as it pertains to the iReady assessment. And these are really great measures to show for Washington Borough. And as you know, Washington Borough historically has been quite a low performer within the county of Warren. And so, any of this progress that we're showing in math with all the new things that we're doing are truly encouraging data points. Is a well used product with several million students taking it across the country. What you'll see here is that as the beginning of the year, where it says the fall administration, you'll see that you have green, yellow, and red. And so those are when students come in the beginning of the year. Always there's a bit of regression um, from the summer, and when you're looking at the averages, and what you want to show is growth. And we have those red arrows pointing to the right to show that the 10% proficiency rate at the beginning of the year in the green has increased to over 28%. And that the yellow area, or the area that are students that are just about at grade level, went from 66% to 61%. And so some of those yellow turned into green, and that's what we're looking for. Likewise, the red area, or the students that are coming in that are significantly below grade level, um, started the year at the 24% range of our students and have reduced to the 11% range. So these are numbers that we love to see anytime we see the beginning of the year assessment um, changing with those right red arrows moving to the right, increasing our green area, reducing our yellow area and red area. We know that we're moving students to the next level of proficiency. So again, in pairing with the previous slides, which were showing the typical growth rate and stretch growth rate, this is just a bit of a different look to show how specifically Taylor Street is doing within that. Likewise, we have a similar graphic for grades 3 through 6 at Memorial School. And again, you're going to see some of the same things. We're always making good progress by moving to the right with our proficiency levels, more aggressive here in the proficiency levels increase at Memorial, going from the 7 plus 13 or 20% range to the 37% range in the proficient level, and reducing the 43% range of almost on target to 41%. But our more dramatic difference would show that we go from 38% of students that were not or significantly below grade level to the 22% range, which are now significantly below grade level. And again, this is attributed to the amount of growth that's being made within the first half of the year. One of the things to also take into consideration is that the program is new for our teachers. And so, although we've had some pretty good growth numbers so far, in the second half of the year, we would expect even better growth numbers as teachers become more familiar with the product and with the curriculum, as students continue to get more interventions through our win period, and as teachers begin to continue to get more of the professional development. We had another half day of professional development more recently, where teachers are learning how to ask questions for advancing student learning within lessons. Those are invaluable to our staff. And so as they grow within the program, as our administration grows within the implementation of the program, as our children continue to get their interventions in the win period, and as we continue to just become just better overall at mathematics instruction, these numbers we expect to become even more aggressive in the future. So very, very encouraging information. Okay, now we're going to take a look at English language arts. Okay, what you're looking at here is a graph of all of the districts in the state of New Jersey. On the bottom or x-axis, what you're seeing is the percentage of students in each of these districts that have qualified for free and reduced lunch. This is often an indicator of performance. As you can see, it's very strongly correlated with the fact that districts that have less students with free and reduced lunch generally perform higher, and districts that have more students with free and reduced lunch historically and generally perform lower. Now, this measure is showing both performance and growth paired together. If you were to look at a graph of just performance, this would be a much more aggressively downward sloped line, as data shows that higher performance is typically paired with higher income ranges within that community. And on the flip side, lower performance is typically uh, paired with districts that have a higher number of students with free and reduced needs. Well, this is a measure that puts both growth and performance together, and so it's allowing us to see not only if districts have grown, but also if it's making an impact on their overall performance. You may have some districts that have aggressive growth but still have very low performance. And so what we look at here is the quadrant in the upper right. That's called the high growth plus high performance measure. Now together, this is the quadrant that you'd want to be in if you have a district like Washington Borough that is to the right of the red line, which are all districts that have a higher than median a number of students needing free and reduced lunch. Now, why is this important? This shows that those all of these dots in the upper right quadrant are aggressively outperforming the norms. They are doing something exceptional to overcome the odds that are that would typically show that performance is usually lagging when you have a higher number of student needs when it comes to socioeconomic status. As you can see, the orange dot is Washington Borough, and we are very proud to announce that last year we ranked ninth out of all of those districts in the upper right-hand quadrant. All 253 districts, we ranked ninth in performance plus growth for districts that are above the median with free and reduced lunch. And that is the 97th percentile. This is something that we're very proud of. We last year introduced the CKLA curriculum. We introduced a much more robust intervention program that brought in 4 interventionists, a literacy coach, and did incredible work with our students in teaching them to learn how to read and to comprehend. And that work was just, it proved to have amazing dividends, as shown by this graph. And that is extremely important when looking at this year's data as well, because our starting point is now much higher than it was in previous years. And so what you can see here is the same graph that you saw for the math. And already you're going to see that almost 60% of our students are on target for typical growth against all of the norms within the United States, not just New Jersey. And you're also seeing really great growth numbers still in English language arts. We have 46% of our students that are on target still for that aggressive stretch growth at the end of the year in reading language arts. And that's after last year, which had, again, really significant growth within our schools as well. So to see continued growth or aggressive growth measures this year is really very, very encouraging. Like the other graph that you saw like this, which was for the math, you're seeing a nice grouping again in the middle of that graph, which is showing that students are progressing on an average rate the way average school districts were, even though we have a very high number of students with free and reduced lunch needs. We do have a couple of grade levels that are falling below that mean, but we do have, of those two, grade 6 has been showing tremendous growth. And again, grade 6 in general has shown scores that have lagged behind the rest of our grade levels. The really encouraging news here is that when you see kindergarten, grade 1, grade 3, grade 4, or lower grade levels that are all performing right around the median of the national norms, and also still showing really good growth amongst those. Grade 2, we do have a bit of a lag from last year. This group last year, the grade 1 students, showed similar data, and we were able to change the path of that last year with some instructional moves that we did differently with our intervention structure and that we're considering right now for grade 2 as well, those same cohort of students. When looking more specifically at Taylor Street or grades K through 2, once again, you can see from the beginning of the year, which is the more faded multicolored line below, you can see that 15% of our students were in the green area, and now we have 40% of our students in the green area. We've reduced the yellow area from 71% to 50%, which is magnificent. And we've also reduced our red or tier 3 students, students that are below 2 years or below, from 14 to 10%. These are really great, encouraging numbers. Students are learning how to read, and we're doing a great job intervening with those students who are still in need of continuous support. Here you'll see Memorial School, the 3 through 6 data, not quite as aggressive, but as we've shown in the previous NJSLA data, is that we've made great strides already with this group. We are continuing to make great progress. However, unlike Taylor Street, which you can make much more aggressive progress with students who are just learning to read, in Taylor Street, it is a little bit more of a slow climb, but we're really still doing the work. We're increasing those green zones and decreasing those yellow and red zones due to our current in-place program, which continues to thrive. And so that concludes our presentation for the middle of the year progress for Washington Borough School District. We hope that you've enjoyed taking a look at the data that shows the incredible growth and performance that we've had here at Washington Borough that we're very proud of. And we thank the board for their support, for all of the things that they've supported us with in terms of purchasing new programs and allowing us to infuse new staff to be able to make these changes. And I would continue to urge all of our population, our citizens of Washington Borough, to continue to support our programs and know that it does take financing to be able to support programs to allow students to have an equal playing field by the time they exit 6th grade and have the performance necessary to compete with all the students, not only in New Jersey, but in the country and globally. And so we appreciate your support, and we will see you soon. Take care.